Hello and welcome to another video from Only One Read. I'm not sure when this is going to get uploaded. Do you know what I think I might actually start doing is just to get back on the ball of uploading, I might just publish this like on the day of recording. Unless I find another video that's like ready to go and that's really easy to upload. Just because I haven't uploaded in a few weeks, I believe. I also haven't recorded a video in a few weeks. So yeah, today we are going to be doing another book haul. It is my first true book haul of this academic year. So this might, from your end, seem like all I'm doing is book hauls, but I assure you I am spacing them out. Also, this is technically two book hauls because it is two separate trips to bookshops that I have been to in the last few weeks. It's just I hadn't had a chance to actually record myself. I'm also going to be embossing the books. I have my embosser here. I don't know. Actually, it's not been uploaded. The previous videos have not been uploaded as of yet. I did upload it at one point, but anyway, a lot of things got deleted off my channel. This is a book embosser that my friend got me for my birthday this year. And basically, the way it works is you just kind of stamp it down and it leaves an impression. In this case, it says from the library of Katie Constance, which is my name. So yeah, it's really cool. Lovely bookish gift. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I think this is Ladd Stationery, Ladd. So this is not a sponsorship, but if you do want to, Ladd, sponsor me. Um, but yeah, so without further ado, let's get into it. So these first couple of books are very random. You definitely know them. And I got them from a visit. So basically, I went on two different trips. One was a few weeks ago, during like the end of October. I went to Waterstones when they had their double stamps event to because I thought, okay, I might as well go spend some money on Waterstones because I haven't in a very long time, and I will also get double stamps on my loyalty card. But more recently, last weekend, I popped by to my local charity shop, Oxfam, and I got a couple books from there as well. So these two are the first and second Hunger Games books. Um, I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about what the Hunger Games is, because if you don't know what the Hunger Games is, I think you probably have been sitting under a rock. And you probably won't be watching my channel if you don't know what the Hunger Games is, but I will say it very briefly anyway. Very popular teen dystopian series. I was actually quite late to the Hunger Games trend. I have read them, but basically the reason I got these is because I actually didn't own a physical copy. I read these first two books. I believe I read them for free as part of a Kindle Unlimited subscription on my tablet, like when I was like, I want to say 16 or 17. So when I was 16 or 17, this was in like 2018. So this was quite late, right? This is not during like the boom of the Hunger Games, which was like 2011 to like 2015. This was kind of like the dip towards the end of that fad of like dystopian YA books that kind of piggybacked off the success of the Hunger Games. But anyway, I had been searching for, and these match. So basically, I never had physical copies, but then I got a physical copy of Mockingjay from a charity shop years ago. I remember the day that I got it. I got it from a charity shop in my hometown, like during school holidays when I had gone out with my friends. I think it was before I went into year 12. Yes, I would have been 16. And I read that one, the physical copy, because I bought the book really cheap on that charity shop. And then in this charity shop in Oxfam, in the town that I currently live in for uni, I now have found the first two books. So yeah, the collection is complete. I was recently reorganizing my bookshelves back home in my hometown, and I was reminded of the fact that I don't have copies of the Hunger Games. and Catching Fire. So when my eyes caught these the other day, I was like, you know what, we really need to get these. Coffee break. And now watch me pull faces as I emboss my book. I probably should have sat on the floor to make this more, to make it more obvious about what I'm doing. But what can I do? I mean, I can push this a little bit back. Don't want anything to get knocked over. This has someone else's name on it. This has Joe Chapman 5M written in it on every single page in the beginning. That's so sad. I wonder where Joe Chapman is. 5M. That looks like a form. 5M. But it can't be year 5. How old are you in year 5? 8? Well, it is. Like, she's like a really good reader. If she read these when she was 8. Damn, Joe Chapman. Hope you're doing okay. It looks like a form. No, if you are outside the UK and you've got no idea what I mean, in the UK, I guess it's the equivalent of the American. Because I recently clicked, I was like, actually, I can't remember what they call it in America, but like you see it in movies in America because you don't really have many teen movies that are set in British schools. But in the US, I think they call it home base, or it's not home base. Anyway, it's like basically, and we have an equivalent. I can't remember what they call it in the US actually. I think it is home base. It's basically like where you report to. And anyway, in the UK anyway, we have forms, okay, and it's basically where you report to in the morning, okay. So you're just assigned to a form, okay, and your form is big. It's like your tutor group, if you will, and every morning that's where you report to, and that's who takes you get registered in your forms. And typically in the UK, we will also have kind of like pastoral teaching, things like sex ed, don't do drugs, that kind of thing will also be taught within your form. So yeah, that. Anyway, right, next book, and this is from Waterstones because of that. Look at that, this beautiful sprayed edges, this beautiful edition of The Court of the Dead by Rick Riordan and Mark Oshiro. Now, I am a very big fan of the Riordanverse. If you don't know, this is the latest book in the Riordanverse, came out a couple of months ago in September, as basically Riordan books have been doing since like 2005. I don't think he has gone a single year without publishing a Riordanverse book. This, of course, is the author of the Percy Jackson universe, and if you don't know Percy Jackson, middle grade children's book series about a demigod, Percy Jackson, who is the son of Poseidon, based around Greek mythology. Since then, it got rapidly expanded. There is now a trilogy of trilogies within the Greek mythology universe, and Rick Riordan has also written 2 other series, Magnus Chase and the Kane Chronicles, based upon Norse and Egyptian mythology, respectively. And he has released a lot of like extra books that kind of bridge the worlds together, and he has created this kind of multiverse known as the Riordanverse within the fandom. Now, the latest kind of series that he has released are basically a spin-off series, which I guess he's kind of branded now as the Nico D'Angelo Adventures. Nico is a secondary character, kind of a little bit of an anti-hero initially in the Percy Jackson series. He's the son of Hades, and he is also the first queer character in the series. And he has a lot of trauma and a lot of background issues that kind of he learns to deal with. And then this kind of series is the second book in this kind of new series that he's releasing. The first book is The Sun and the Star, which I'm currently reading, and it's basically him and his boyfriend Will. Will being a son of Apollo. I can't remember if I said that Nico is a son of Hades. Go on this quest together in The Sun and the Star, and this is kind of like piggybacking off that. It's kind of their next quest together, so it's kind of like they're doing like their own adventures. I'm going to be honest with you, I had seen that The Sun and the Star did not have very good reviews, and I was like, okay, this must be homophobia, because like every single Rick Riordan book that I have read has been pretty good. And then I actually started reading it, and I was like, okay, this is not homophobia. This is actually just like not good. Okay. And look, I don't hate it. I don't hate The Sun and the Star, but I'll be honest. Like, I think I don't want to hate on Mark Oshiro, and I think it's quite admirable what Rick Riordan was trying to do. If you don't know, basically, Rick Riordan felt that he was not qualified to write a book where the main character was queer as a straight man. So he was like, okay, let me co-write this with Mark Oshiro, who is a gay author. I think he's written a few LGBT novels. I haven't read any of his work outside of this. It's just that it felt very fanficky and it felt very out of character. There's a lot of I don't want to sound like a boomer, but it does feel like very like woke, as in like, oh my god, it's like always in your face. Like, oh my god, like Nico was like feeling so insecure because he was gay, and being gay was not acceptable during his upbringing, or I don't know what weird accent I'm doing, but you know what? I'm okay with that because Rick Riordan generally like info dumps a lot of the time in his books. So like when he wants to drive a point across, he just does it, and I'm like, okay, fine. He's just not very subtle about these things. It is a kid's book at the end of the day. That's fair enough. But what I didn't like was the mischaracterization, because there is a lot of which I found bothered me a lot more than wokeness, which is this kind of in the same vein as wokeness. Lots of therapy explaining like speak. It was like Nico would have like a panic attack, and then Will would be like, oh, you have to like process like this deep trauma that you're experiencing. Like it's totally normal for you to be feeling this way because XYZ and like Freudian complexes. And like I was like, what the hell, man, Will? Who made you a psychotherapist? You're like 15. Like I don't actually know how old they are. I think they're like 17. But like, sorry, I lit a candle and it started spluttering, and it scared me. And the other thing is the mischaracterization, because they just both feel like robotic components of each other, of themselves. They feel like fan-in interpretations of the characters. They don't feel as nice and well-rounded as they were. And you might think, oh, this is because Rick Riordan decided to like make like they didn't have personalities because they were secondary characters. No, because I recently read the Trials of Apollo series, which was set just before these and was published just before these, and they're not the main characters in that series. That is the third trilogy in the Riordanverse, but they were much more prominent than they had been in the Percy Jackson. They were kind of like the secondary like sidekicks, if you will, and they were so funny. Like their dynamic was so full of banter, and Nico was very like they just had a really, really nice connection, and the way that Will kind of offset Nico's like grumpiness, but also he wasn't like too like in your face like sweet in this book. Like it's meant to be like, oh, Will, he was like this ray of sunshine, and Nico like was scared of tainting him with his darkness. It honestly did feel like bad fanfic of someone having a very, very, very surface level appreciation of these characters. Several scenes when Nico like breaks down crying in front of people, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that does not feel like something that Nico would do unless he was pushed to his absolute limits. And it was kind of, it feels like bad hurt comfort angst. Okay, like bad hurt comfort fanfic. That's what it feels like to me. Which is fine when you kind of like these characters and you want to play dolls with them in your spare time because you just like to imagine them in like messed up situations where one of them comforts the other. But when it comes with the price of basically like erasing their person, you can kind of afford in a fanfic to erase somebody's personality because it's like 2,000 words and you're just doing it in your head. You're like filling in the rest of that personality, okay? Because it's not that deep. But like in a book, anyway, regardless of all that, I did still buy it. I don't hate this one style. It's not like absolutely atrocious. I am slowly making my way through it. I won't form a final opinion until I'm done with it. And until then, I'm not ready to give up on the Riordanverse. Let's hope that this one's a little bit better. Yeah. So that's all my thoughts on that. Time to stamp it. I talked for a long time about that one. I'm tired. Should I just stop the video? Coffee break. Okay, this is Nocturnes by Kazuo Ishiguro. I have read Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I believe he's also a Nobel Literature Prize winner. I know that this is a collection of short stories, and I think it's kind of like snapshots of like people's lives and the way that people's lives like interconnect with each other. I don't know if this has like a particular theme or anything, but I do want to start getting back into short stories because I haven't read many short stories recently. I'm just going to read you like the blurb because I don't know too much about this. In Nocturnes, Kazuo Ishiguro explores the ideas of love, music, and the passing of time. From the piazzas of Italy to the hush-hush floor of an exclusive Hollywood hotel, the characters we encounter range from young dreamers to cafe musicians to faded stars, all of them at some moment of reckoning. Gentle, intimate, and witty, this quintet is marked by a haunting theme, the struggle to keep alive a sense of life's romance, even as one gets older. Relationships founder and youthful hopes recede. So it's kind of this, from what I'm understanding, romanticization of the little moments in life, zooming into these kind of pivotal moments that kind of might not seem significant but will make or break your lifelong decisions. I think that that is quite intimate, like it says, and quite a beautiful sentiment. So I'm looking forward to making my way through these eventually. And I really like Kazuo, I can't say his name, Kazuo Ishiguro's novel Never Let Me Go. It's one of my favourite. I just had a moment of blanking. I thought, like, that is by him, isn't it? Yeah, it is one of my favourite novels. That is, I won't tell you actually what that is because I actually think that Never Let Me Go, one of the problems about Never Let Me Go is that people advertise what it is in terms of genre. And if I tell you what it is in terms of genre, it will ruin one of the better ways, I think, to enjoy that book, which was ruined for me because I knew going into Never Let Me Go what it was about. And I think I would have really liked to have experienced it from that other point. Because if I tell you what genre it is, you basically, this is something I really like about Never Let Me Go. I'm going to talk about it for a little bit. What I really like about it is it kind of has two genres. It has one genre is kind of like what its technical genre is once you kind of actually realize what it's actually about. But then it's kind of the vibes genre. And that's opening it and starting to read it and um the vibes that you get and what you think you're getting into if you didn't know anything else. So I'm going to tell you the vibes genre. So the vibes genre is it's kind of like a contemporary drama surrounding kind of a love triangle between three friends. And I know that might sound boring to you, but I assure you it is not. It's not really a love triangle exactly. It's just about the relationship dynamics between these three friends. And I think that's all you need to know. And there's a lot of nostalgic vibes to it as we have flashbacks to their time in school together. Um, yeah, I think that's all you need to know about Never Let Me Go. But I think more people should go into Never Let Me Go blind because I think it's like that experience needs to be explored a little bit more because I think it's too like it has been advertised quite heavily what it was, and I knew what it was because I was studying the technical genre in my A levels, so it was in my recommended reading, so I knew going into it that it was going to turn out to be that, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Okay, here we have The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. I have this beautiful sprayed edge edition and it's signed, which is why I saw this at Waterstones and I was like, I must have it. The Nocturnes was also from Waterstones, so I got 3 books from Waterstones. I got this, Court of the Dead, and Nocturnes. Um, I love, love, love Alex E. Harrow. She is one of my probably up and coming favorite authors. I feel like saying she's my favorite author is a little bit a little bit of an exaggeration because I do think I have other authors who I've loved their books and I've been obsessed with their books, and I've consumed their books and book series like very ravenously, like Sarah J. Maas, Leigh Bardugo, even with authors that write kind of more disconnected works like Ted Chiang, but Ted Chiang writes short stories. But with Alexie Harrow, I just feel like she's quite consistent. She doesn't really write series. I don't think I've seen any of her series. Maybe she has, but I haven't read any. I've read a lot of one-off books by her. I've read The 10,000 Jewels of January. I've read the Once and Future Witches, and I've read Sparrow House, I think it's called. Oh my god, I've literally forgotten the name of it. Not Sparrow House, actually. No, it's Starling House. The Starling House. And those are all one-off books by her, and I just think that she's quite consistent. Like I've liked all of those books. I'm not selling her, am I? But I just think it's quite interesting that like three separate worlds, three separate one-off projects by this author. Rather, it's one thing I think to like one series by the same author, because obviously it's technically the same story. But I think liking three separate one-off books by the same author says that I am going to basically like anything and everything that this author ever puts out. So I'm really looking forward to The Everlasting. She writes fantasy, but it's not kind of your typical high fantasy. So for example, in The 10,000 Daughters of January, it centers around a girl called January. It's a historical fiction book set in the 1800s, and January is brought up as the ward of this rich tradesman who takes her on business trips. Her father works for this rich kind of benefactor, but he's always away on work. And one day, January receives the news that her father is dead, and she sets out to find him. And along the way, it's basically quite mystical. She basically discovers that the Earth is connected to other universes through these like magic doors, hence why it's called the 10,000 Doors of January. And through finding this journal, she learns that her father actually comes from one of these alternate worlds and was trying to get back home all these years, which is why he's been traveling and why he's been working for this rich benefactor. And yeah, I'm not going to spoil the ending of that book, but I really like that. So it's basically like historical fantasy is a lot of what she writes. And the other book that she wrote about is The Once and Future Witches, which was set in it was kind of like an alternative 1890s. I think that's around the setting. About around these three women who were witches, and set around the time, I think it might even be a little bit later because it's around the women's suffrage movement. And then her contemporary, the Starling House is contemporary, but Starling House is like Southern Gothic, and it's a Southern Gothic contemporary romance, and I really like that as well. This one, I believe, is about a historian who goes back in time, or it's the other way around. This like lady knight appears in the present day, and it's like a romance between them, I think. I will actually read it out for you because I'm actually not too sure, but I just know the fact that I'm going to love it. Sir Una Everlasting was Dominion's greatest hero, the orphaned girl who became a knight, and who died for queen and country. Her legend lives on in songs and stories, in children's books and recruiting posters, but her life as it truly happened has long been forgotten. Centuries later, Owen Mallory, failed soldier, struggling scholar, falls in love with the tale of Una Everlasting. His fascination, I can't say it. Fascination? Oh my god, why am I saying it like that? His fascination, oh god, with her, leads him to war, to the archives, and then into the past itself. Una and Owen become tangled together in time, bound to retell the same stories over and over again, no matter what it costs. But that story always ends the same way. If they want to rewrite Una's legend and finally tell a different tale, they'll have to confront its author and change history itself. I love this. Trapped in Time, Lovers Trapped in Time. I love that. I love it. It's kind of like something that I've wanted to write for a long time. It's also a plot point in one of my favourite books that I read recently, which is The Stylist C by Erin Morgenstern. When I first read that, actually, I was a little bit like underwhelmed, but I find myself thinking about it quite often. So I'm like, that was a good book. Okay. Oh, I didn't stamp it. Okay. Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. Now, this was actually a blind date with a book in Oxfam, which I think was really good of them to do. I think what was written on the outside for this was LGBT and mysterious. And I believe what this is about a orphan in the 1800s, Sue Trinder, and she grows up in this gang of kind of petty thieves, and it's like a sapphic romance between her and one of the other like gang members, but she's trying to leave, I believe. Let me actually read it. So, London, 1862. Sue Trinder, orphaned at birth, grows up among petty thieves, fingersmiths, under the rough but loving care of Mrs. Suxby and her family. But from the moment she draws breath, Sue's fate is linked to that of another orphan growing up in a gloomy mansion not too many miles away. So maybe actually, do you know what? I don't actually know what this is going to be about. I'm always up for queer stories. I think there should be more queer romance, especially FF romance needs a little bit more representation in the media. I'm always up for historical romance. I'm always up for petty thieves, heists vibes, which is kind of what this is giving. It's kind of giving, I really love Six of Crows. It's one of my favorite duologies ever. And the first Six of Crows, but actually, you know what? Crooked Kingdom is also pretty good. I was going to say the first Six of Crows book is up there as one of my favorite books. I think actually both of them together because I did really like Crooked Kingdom as well. So I like those vibes. I like steampunk vibes. So I think this is going to be pretty good. And I'm quite happy that I picked it up because I have never heard of this ever before. So this is why you should go into secondhand bookshops and charity shops as well, so that you can get older books that people have donated. That so you do, because it is true that yes, do they have really pretty sprayed edges? Yes, but if you go into like any Waterstones or Foyles or whatever kind of big chain bookshop, you are going to find like those big names that are popular right now, and you might want to explore a little bit outside of that. So this is a good way to do it, and I'm happy that I picked this up because it looks good, and I never would have heard of it otherwise. So yeah, I'm just going to stamp this as well. Cool. So thank you very much for listening to me yap for half an hour. I do hope you have enjoyed yourself, and tune in next time with Only One Read. Bye now.